My name is Ricardo, I'm Churchill's winemaker, and I'm going to give you a tasting of 3 wines from Gricha. I'm going to speak a little bit about Churchill's, about Gricha, and about the personality that Gricha gives to the wines I'm going to show to you. So feel free to ask any questions. I have Anna with me.
Hi everyone, I hope you enjoy your tasting. I'll be interrupting Ricardo when you have questions. Enjoy!
So please shoot any questions you have. I'll be more than glad to answer them to you. So, as some of you might know, Churchill was started in 1981 by Johnny and his 2 brothers, and on the beginning of our company we were focusing on producing premium vintage ports. We were producing ports from 1981 till nowadays, but in 1999 we decided to buy a property to help us with our wines, to help us change a little bit the style of our wines, and so we were looking for a property that could offer purity, freshness and intensity, and also what we call backbone. And so in 1999 we were fortunate enough to be able to buy Gricha. So Gricha, to tell you a little bit about Gricha, Gricha is a property in the Cima Corgo sub-region, so it's in a place called Ervedosa do Douro, and it's on the south bank. So what does it mean being on the south bank? For us, it's a very important thing, because being on the south bank means that it's facing north. And for us, facing north and in a very hot region like Douro, exposition, in our opinion, is a key factor. Why? Because being Douro such a hot region, in our case, we were looking for vineyards that could have a slow, steady maturation process. So we weren't looking for the typical concentration, over extracted style of wines. We were looking for the other side, for the freshness, for the intensity, for the elegance, and also for what, as I said before, the backbone. And so when we bought Gricha, and being Gricha facing north, we knew that we were buying a property that could offer this style of wine for us. One of the things that I think Gricha is very important is Gricha has a very singular identity. When we're producing the wines from Gricha, either ports or table wines, we know that Gricha will offer us a raw vibrancy, a purity of fruit, and also a natural acidity that will give them aging potential, intensity, elegance, and also be very, very, very appealing. As I said before, so from the beginning we were producing ports, but since 1999 we also started to produce table wines. When we bought the property, about half of the property was planted with very old vineyards, going from 30 to 80 plus years old, and we decided to start planting the remaining areas of the property. So nowadays, Gricha being a property with about 50 hectares, we have the property fully planted with a combination of field blends, so the older vineyards, they are field blends, and now with younger vineyards that we selected from Touriga Franca, Touriga Nacional, and a couple of other grape varieties. So, to talk to you a little bit about the wines, I'm going to show you 3 wines. So I'm going to start with the Touriga Nacional from a single vineyard. Okay, from Gricha. It's not a very old vineyard. It's a vineyard we planted when we bought the property, so it's a vineyard with about 20 years old. And it's a vineyard that for us, in our opinion, we decided to have a Touriga Nacional from Gricha for a couple of reasons. Why? Because in one hand, it's a wine that combines the intensity and that floral character from Touriga Nacional with the natural acidity and that raw vibrancy from Quinta da Gricha. And so at the end, I think that we wanted to combine a little bit these 2 factors to produce a wine that it's intense, that it's lively, but also has purity of fruit and an excellent aging potential. So we used to use this vineyard in other blends, and normally every single year we always thought that in a way it would be a pity to dilute this small parcel in a bigger blend. So we in 2016 we decided that it's such an interesting wine and such a vineyard with such a special character that we wanted to do it on its own. So it's the second year and we're gonna taste it, and I hope you agree with me that it's a wine that will age beautifully in bottle. So the second wine and the third wine, here we go to the old vineyards dimension, let's call it like this. So we have, as I've said before, we have a very old vineyard, a very old parcel of vineyards in Gricha with about 8 years old, maybe more. To be honest, we don't know exactly the age of this vineyard. We know that it has at least 70 or 80 years old, but we believe that actually the vineyard is much older. Sorry, and we've been using this small vineyard that's like a treasure for us because it's very small and it has very low yields. So it's something that for us we really need to ensure that we're using it correctly, and so it's always a fight between me and Johnny to see who grabs a bit more to produce either port, the vintage port, or to produce these two wines. And so we know for a fact that it's a vineyard that, you know, the potential of the vineyard and the pedigree of this vineyard is, in our opinion, it's fabulous. So we really use it carefully, and so we've been using a part of the vineyard to produce the Quinta da Gricha, traditional Douro wine, but since 2016 we wanted to have a different interpretation of this vineyard. So we were looking to have a wine that shows the intensity, the pedigree, and also shows the uniqueness and the singularity and the identity of this vineyard. But we didn't want to have a wine that, and it's typical in the Douro wines and typical on premium Douro wines, that, you know, on the beginning of their bottling aging, they're quite shy and quite close because, you know, they have a lot of aging potential. And we wanted to have a wine that, without losing the aging potential, that could be consumed on an earlier stage. And so we wanted to do a wine that would have, as I said before, the structure, the intensity, the natural acidity, but without having the tannic structure that would make the wine be a bit more tight on the early years. So we wanted to produce a wine, let's say, a bit more enjoyable on an earlier stage. And for that, what we've done is we've changed a little bit the fermentation process in order to get these elements. The third wine, it's a wine, it's very special for me. When I came back from working abroad, it was the first wine I produced when I came back, and it's, you know, it shows, I think it's, you know, it's a great ambassador of the potential of Douro as a premium wine region in the world. I think Douro, and I've been fortunate enough to work in different regions in the world, but I really believe that Douro has an immense potential on the production either of fortified wines, port, and we've been doing that for centuries, and, you know, the aging potential is something unbelievable when we talk about ports, but also in the production of table wines, because I think Douro, and being Douro a big region, has very special sub-regions and special secret areas that you can find, and where you can really find the balance and the vineyards that you're looking for to produce the solid wines you want. So we're going to taste this in last. It's 2007, so it's been 10 years since the wine has been bottled, and he's been sleeping in the bottle since then. So in my opinion, I think it's a wine that benefits from decanting it prior to drinking, because being a wine that it's almost not filtered, it's natural to throw some sediments. Okay. So to start with the first wine. So Touriga Nacional is nowadays one of the superstar grape varieties in the Douro. I think it's not the most planted yet. I think Touriga Franca is still the most planted grape variety, but Touriga Nacional has been increasingly much more planted in the Douro. I know that a long time ago, Touriga Nacional almost disappeared because it's a grape variety that has very low yields and it's a bit sensitive to diseases, and so it wouldn't be what we call viticultural friend of the grape growers, because they were looking for a bit more of yields, and this wouldn't be a grape variety that offer that. But I think the boom of planting Touriga Nacional was when the wine houses, the houses that produce the wines, they start having their own quintas, and they could really understand the potential of Touriga Nacional. It is a fabulous grape variety to combine in a blend, because it offers intensity, it offers natural acidity, and it offers structure. But I think it's also a nice ambassador to show as a single grape variety from the Douro region. And I realize that most of the time it's difficult for us here in Portugal, and especially in the Douro. When we go abroad to talk about our native grape varieties, it's not very easy to understand when we say Touriga Nacional or terroirs or the typical names of our grape varieties. But on the other hand, I think in a world that everybody knows Cabernet, everybody knows Sauvignon Blanc, it's a problem, but on the other hand, it's also an opportunity, because we offer something different and unique. This is what we think are the best grape varieties for the Douro, because they've been here for centuries and they're very well adapted to a mountain viticulture, to a hot region, dry, with nearly no water available. So they're very well suited for this style of climate. And so I think it's something unique when we offer native grape varieties. You know that you're tasting wines from the Douro with grape varieties from the Douro. And so, to come back a little bit behind, Touriga Nacional offers that floral, that lively character. It's very intense. Normally, it's the wines produced from Touriga Nacional are very intense and very pure. But here we wanted to combine also with what we think are key factors, and that's the character of Gricha. Gricha normally it's raw and it's wild and it's vibrant, and so we wanted to combine a little bit these two backgrounds to produce what I think, and I hope you agree, a wine that it's quite enjoyable and quite pure and quite focused. So I hope you agree with me. I think it shows this wild basil and a little bit of these gum cissus with a bit of a spicy background on the nose. I think it's a wine that you can easily enjoy it now, but I'm very confident that it's going to be a wine that will age beautifully in the bottle for the next years, because it has the freshness and it has the structure and it has decent concentration. And here at Churchill's, we're not looking for concentration, we're much more focusing on finding balance. And for us, balance means that you have maturation on one side, but you need to have the proper acidity to balance it together. So we're looking for this backbone, for this freshness and this intensity that I think it will help the wine to age beautifully in the bottle. Yeah, it's quite appealing on the palate. The freshness and the natural acidity really pops up since the beginning, and it's like it goes all the way through the tasting, and that's for me that's the interesting part, because it keeps the wine on a high level. It's not a wine that it's boring. It's not, it has what we say a good goodbye, because the natural acidity keeps the wine always steady in terms of tasting. It's not a wine that goes all the way down. So I think I think that it's really nice to drink now, and when we make wines, we're always thinking in making wines for food. And I think especially nowadays, wine is the best company that we can have, because we've been locked down in our houses. So wine, it's very good to help us go through these rough times, and we think wine is the lovely company for food. So when we make wines, we're always thinking that wine goes well with food, and I think it's a very gastronomic wine to go with meat. So I think drink it now or keep it for later. I think it's a wine that you won't regret on aging it in bottle. Okay.
We have a question.
Okay.
Do you plant other single grape varieties, or is the vineyard mostly field blends?
It's a good question. Half of our vineyard is a field blend, and when I mean a field blend, in our case, in most of the vineyards we don't have any idea of what's being planted there. And for example, in our old vineyard, we know that it's a combination of many grape varieties. We never wanted to to go deep on knowing exactly the percentage and which grape varieties we had there, because when you know, you have the temptation to manipulate, to change a little bit. So we always replant the vineyard with its own vineyard. So, and we never wanted to do, because it was a field blend, and we want to keep a little bit this randomness that I think works lovely in this vineyard. So yes, we have half of our vineyards are field blends, and the ones we planted from the time we start buying, when we bought the Quinta, we divided in different grape varieties. So we have Touriga Nacional, we have Touriga Franca, we have a bit of Sauzin, and also we planted a little bit of white grape varieties on the top of the property as an experiment for the wines we're producing. So we also have a bit of Rabigato and Viuzinho as white grape varieties on the top of the property. Okay. Yeah, and I think it's one, if you have the opportunity to have 3 glasses and allow the wines to breathe a little bit on the glasses, you will see that the more they breathe, the more they show. And for me, that's really important, because I think wines, they need to breathe, and they're like people, and they need to have the opportunity to have time also. And time, it's very important for us. I think it's something you learn from producing ports, and time, it's something that we must enjoy. And also for the wines, I think in our case, time benefits our wines, and that's something that we're always concerned when we're making our wines, is that they improve with time, that they can be consumed on an early stage, but they're not for immediate consumption, knowing that they won't have any aging potential. So I think the challenge for us is to make wines that you can drink it now, but you know that if you don't want to drink it now and you want to drink it in 5 and 10 or 15 years, they will be very enjoyable, and they will be much better also at that stage. Okay. So let's move on to the second one. Yeah, so the second one. Here we want to divide this, because here we enter on the old vineyards, on the field blend championship, let's call it like this. As I've said before, these 2 wines, they come from the same old vineyard, but there are 2 different interpretations of the same potential. Let's say like this. So in this wine, as I've said before, we were looking to produce a wine that shows the elegance and the intensity and the pedigree and the quality and the singularity of this vineyard, but we wanted to show a wine that could be consumed in an early stage, without, we believe, losing also the aging potential. So what we've done in this wine to try to achieve this was we've done less skin contact. So the fermentation, to talk to you a little bit about the fermentation process, we ferment these in open lagars, okay, but at a certain time of the fermentation period, we put this wine to finish the alcoholic fermentation in barrels, okay? And then once it finishes the alcoholic fermentation in the barrel, it continues the malolactic fermentation also in the same barrel, with a bit of Lee stirring, okay? So we do a bit of batonnage on the wine to keep the lees above. And so we think that, it has the same, as I've said, the same intensity. It shows the acidity, it shows this, what we call tension, but you don't feel that tannic structure that you would normally feel on a typical Douro wine. And so I think it's quite appealing to drink at this stage. It's juicy and intense. It has balance and elegance. So I think it's a lovely wine, and it's quite, in my opinion, it's quite gastronomic at this stage. But I hope, and I'm quite certain that it will age lovely in the bottle. So I'm very, very curious to be able to drink I don't know if we have any available in the next couple of years, but it's going to be nice to see the development and the aging in bottle for this wine.
We have a question from Virginia. Was 2017 a good year for table wine grapes?
It's a good question. I really think so. I think 2017 was an amazing year, not just for the vintages, for the vintage port, not just for the ports, but also for the table wines. Why? Because, and this is funny, 2017 it was it was one of the earliest vintage ever. You know, things with nature, they never go the way we want. I was looking for a very late ripening harvest because I had a son that was born in August of 2017 vintage. So I was hoping that it would be one of those years that you could, you know, delay the beginning of the picking because it would give me a bit more time to help my wife with the baby. But it was actually totally the opposite. So 2017, at least that I can recall, and I think if Johnny would be here, he would say the same. It was the earliest vintage ever because we started picking even for port in August, and that's normally we start the picking for port in end of the first week of September, on the 9th, on the 8th, on the 12th, something like that. And it was the year that we had to start picking really early. So my son was born on the 15th and I was picking grapes on the 17th, on the 18th. So, you know, it was really a stress for us to start picking the grapes because we're not looking for a lot of ripeness, we're looking for balance. And so for us, it was quite important to start picking early. But saying that, I was a bit concerned in the beginning when we realized that things were going to be quite early, that the wines wouldn't have the balance or the acidity that it's essential for a wine. But I have to say that it's actually the opposite. I think the wines have a freshness, they have an intensity and they have a vibrancy that I think they're really amazing. I think, you know, if you think in balance, 2017 it's a year that really shows great. So I would say that either for port, I mean, I hope you have the opportunity to taste our Churchill's Vintage 2017. It's amazing, but I also think for table wines it's a very, very good year to buy because the wines, they're very appealing now, but they will age beautifully in the bottle. So I think it's a top year to buy. So the second one, if you think about the first one, they're the same from 2017. Here you feel a bit more of the floral character, and that you know, a bit of that gum cistus and wild basil and that fresh flower aromas. Here I think it changes a little bit. You feel a bit more of that spiciness. There's a bit of blueberries, a bit of blackberries, and there's also a bit of black cherries that I think it's really interesting. And you know, I think it's a wine that once it's on the glass, it will keep on opening up and showing more and more and more. So I think it's quite seductive and quite appealing. And it is a wine a bit deceiving in a way because, you know, it's so easy to drink that you keep on drinking it, and once you realize you've taken care of the bottle. So I think it's really nice to have with food. It's quite gastronomic. It doesn't have that harsh tannins that sometimes they're very difficult to taste, and so I think it's quite nice to go either on its own or with food.
We have another question. Is there a story behind the wine labels? Do you work with an artist?
We always work with artists. That's the thing we try to do. No, I think what we you know, I'm on the wine side. I'm not a designer, but I think what we wanted to show and to try to pass to the consumers was an image of the spot, of the terroir, and that's why our labels, they tend to have aerial footage of our vineyards. I don't know if you're able to see it with the video, but for example, the Talhão, it has an aerial image, it's like a photography of our vineyards. The same here. And here we wanted to be a bit more, let's call it old-fashioned, and this is a painting from the gardens at Gricha, because once again we're talking about three wines that we want to express as wines that show the terroir, the specific terroir of Grisha. So we wanted to have a feeling of the spot itself. So we wanted people to realize that when they're tasting the wine, they're actually, we wanted to imagine that they would be on Grisha, and that realize that for us Grisha is such a special place on earth that we wanted to share a little bit with you the feeling that we have at Grisha. So I think we wanted, at the end, we wanted to show people that these wines, they really represent a piece of land, so it's a spot, it's a very special spot on earth, and that's what we wanted to show in our labels, I think. So with the second one, you'll see it's quite spicy, it's quite appealing, and quite, as I've said, it's deceiving, because, you know, it's something that you, when you don't pay attention, you keep on drinking, because it's quite juicy and quite easy to drink, I think. But I think he has the specifics to age beautifully in the bottle. And it finishes well, I think. You know, you feel that the acidity grabs the wine from the beginning till the end, helping it to work and to finish on a very high note. So I think for us, it's always been like this. I think it's something that I've learned from Johnny since the beginning, is that what I've learned from the ports is not about concentration over ripeness, you know, a lot of power. I always learn from him the opposite. You need balance, you need elegance, you need natural acidity. And when you think about ports, and when we decide to declare a vintage port, we always, it is for us, we're very proud in declaring a vintage port, but it's also a responsibility for us. We feel that because it means we're actually putting a stamp of what we believe it's a wine that will age forever. So it will age for 50, 100 years. So what Johnny always taught me was that one of the key elements for having this aging potential is not over-ripeness. It's the opposite, it's natural acidity, because that's what keeps a wine alive. So that's what helps a wine to, you know, to develop well in bottle. Okay? And so for the third wine, this is the older brother of the second one. So here it's Quinta da Gricha 2007. So it is a wine that I recommend to decant prior to drinking it, because, you know, it's a wine quite natural, it's nearly intervened, so it's normal to create a bit of sediment. So what I advise is to, if you're going to drink it, for example, at dinner time, you put the bottles, you take it out from your cellar, you put the bottle standing up at lunchtime, and then 1 hour or half an hour before dinner, you can decant it carefully to prevent the sediment from going to the glasses. It's been 10 years in the bottle. I think, you know, for a wine like Quinta da Gricha, this is still the beginning of the aging process. I'm very confident that this wine will age beautifully for 20 more years or more. So I'm very excited to be able to keep on tasting this wine throughout the years, because since the beginning, I haven't reached that time that I thought to myself, well, the wine is not growing anymore in the bottle. It's now starting to get down. So every time I taste this wine, I think it's still showing better, and it's showing more and different stuff. It's normal. It's like people. With age, you lose some things, some characteristics. You gain others. So I think at this stage, this wine still shows what for us it's essential. It's still quite fresh and alive. And if you put it on the glass, it starts to show a bit of that spicy character, but then on the background you feel that fresh fruit character that it's typical from Grisha. You feel a bit of that blueberry and that blackberry character that, you know, I think it's quite special. Yeah, on the palate, it's quite smooth, it's quite seductive once again. I think it's elegant. And you know, I think it's the acidity makes it refreshing, and that's what makes people drink a second glass. Because if your wine is too heavy or too concentrated or without the proper balance. You drink one glass and you're done with it. And here I think the acidity makes you want to keep on drinking a second glass. As I've said, I think it's a wine that will keep on aging beautifully. Hopefully, I think 20 more years it will keep on developing well. But it's a wine that you can enjoy it now because it's been 10 years and it starts to show different stuff from the beginning. So I think it's really a nice, not a nice, but a great example of what Douro can produce in terms of aging potential material. And I think, in my opinion, Douro, it's one of the great regions in the world, not just for ports, but also for producing table wines. And I think Gricha, inside of such a big region like Douro, it's a very special place on earth because the character of the wines that you're able to produce from Gricha, they tend to be quite unique and special. And you feel that not just on the table wines, but also on the ports. You feel that on the ports you have a fingerprint of the wines that we produce from Gricha. And it's purity, natural acidity, wild character and raw vibrancy. So I think it's quite, I think if Johnny would be here next to me, you would agree with me that it was a very good bet when we decided to buy Gricha. Yeah, it's a lovely wine to go well with food. So I don't know if you have any questions, but if not, it's my pleasure. It was my pleasure to be here with you. I hope you enjoyed. Be safe, and we'll keep on showing our wines to you in the next couple of weeks. And thank you for listening.